Hey friends and family, welcome back again to Netcode-Hub channel. I am Frederick, as you know this, and I'm happy to have you here today. In this video, we are going to continue on the project that we started. I've made only a video on that, and that is an overview of an employee. Oh, is it employee? That is inventory management system. I also have an employee management system in there, so you can check that one out. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so we made a video on the overview, how the system going to look like, and it is in the video description. So if you haven't checked what you're going to build, you can just go in there, watch that video, and know what you're going to do. Okay, and this is going to be the second part of this video. Now with this, you're going to have a basic setup. You're going to create set up our clean architecture settings. We're going to add our projects, and we're going to start doing something. Okay, so without wasting much time here, let's quickly launch our Visual Studio. As you see, I've launched mine, launch yours, and let's create a new blank solution. We're going to add 3 C# class libraries. We're going to add our web UI. And this web UI is going to be the Blazor Interactive Server Render Mode. Okay, so let's quickly do that. Before we jump right in there, you make sure you subscribe to this channel, and also click on that bell to receive an update as soon as I do upload video. I also offer coaching or mentoring to people to improve their skills in .NET, talking about Blazor, Web API service, and etc. So if you're interested, check the video description, and I have an email that you can write to me through it. The source code will also be available. Well, if you want to grab it, you can just check the video description as well. Okay, so now let's click on create new project. So in here, the first thing that we need is a blank solution. So let's click on that. You can search it from here. So quickly do that. Click on next. The name of this project is going to be Demo Blazor. IS stands for Interactive Server Inventory Management System. Okay. Now let's use a location to keep the project, and now click on create to get this solution created. Let's do that. Well, so the project is now created, and now I want to check the solution. We have empty solution. We haven't added any project yet. So now let's go in there and add it. We're going to add 3 class libraries for C#, and we're going to be adding our web UI, and that's going to be the Blazor Interactive Server Render Mode. So you can even do this, but also do mine. Okay. Now, you know, from the clean architecture perspective, we have the application, the domain, the infrastructure, and then the presentation. The presentation is the web UI. Okay. Good. Now let's see. Let's add a new project in here, and this is going to be a C# class library. The first one is going to be an application. So this is my application. Click on create. We're going to add another one, infrastructure. Domain, we have other 2 left. Then we have the web UI to be added. That is done. We're going to also add another one to the solution. So we're going to click on the solution, add a new project in here, and that is infrastructure. So maybe we can add that infrastructure. So click on next. Let's add this. Next, we're going to add domain. Now, the last one that we're going to add here is a presentation. So I'm going to call this web UI. Give it any name of your choice. And this is going to be no more C# class library. This is going to be Blazor web app. And here we need the interactive server render mode, so choose that. So when you check the solution, this is what we have. We have an application, domain, infrastructure, and our web UI. So this is a presentation. We have an infrastructure, we have a domain, and we have an application layer. Okay. The next point here is we're going to be installing packages that we're going to be using throughout this project. Okay. So I'm going to right click on this application as usual. I have the package references set already, so you not to install them anymore. I have them, so I just unload project. Then from the settings in here, I'm going to add them in there. But if you're not having it, please right click on dependencies, then go to package, manage NuGet packages, and try to install these packages. And I believe you know that, right? You can do it. So please do that. Okay, so this is what I have for application. We're going to be using mediator. We need this dependency injection abstraction, so we can create a service container or dependency injection. We need identity store for extension of application user or identity user. Then we need Netcode-Hub package .extension.attribute.required GUID. So I created this special package to make sure that we required GUID. You know, defaultly GUID has in the point of 000.000.000, right? And if you want to check it with string, it's now empty. It is not now because it has values in there. So if you want to check it, you have to use GUID.empty. So I created this so we can put as an attribute and now guide our properties. Make sure that they are not null, excluding the default value. Okay, so this is what very simple package, but it's very useful in our project. So let's install that. And once I have this, what I'm going to do here is I'll save it and right click on this and then click on reload project with dependencies, and I'm going to have everything installed once and for all. Very fine. So from dependencies packages, you're going to see that I have them in here. That's great. Yes, they are set. Okay, I'm going to do the same to the domain. Do we have any package to install on domain layer? Well, let me cross check. No, we do not. So for domain, we do not have any package now, but maybe you can have it in future. If you want to modify this, you can have that. But for now, what we're going to have there, no package for now. Okay, now let's go to the infrastructure. And now for the infrastructure, we need some packages. So right click on the infrastructure. Maybe you're asking me, so we need Mapstar, we need Mediator, we need Entity Framework Core, Identity UI, SQL Server, and okay, we don't need this. You don't need this for now. Okay, so we can exclude that. So we need Mapstar, and Mapstar looks like that is AutoMapper. So Mapstar is used to map objects, entities to entities, the same as the AutoMapper. Okay, so we're going to use Mapstar. We need Mediator in here. The reason why we need that from this project and on this project here is for the application layer. That is, we're going to create our commands and queries. And now when it comes to the handler, we need to implement this. Since it's going to use the EF core or the data access, we need to implement this in the infrastructure. So that's the reason why we're installing this package both there and here. That's great. We need EF core, as you know this already. You need Identity UI for signing manager and etc. We need SQL Server for database management, and that's good, isn't it? Fine. Now here, let's reload project dependencies. Yes, and that is it. Okay. Now we're on to the web UI. What are the packages that we need in the web UI? We need a lot. Let's do it. Right click on this. I'm going to unload project again from this web UI. And our web UI, what are the packages that we need here? I'm going to place them. So we need these packages. We still need a Mapstar in here because we're going to be mapping entities in here. We can map it as well, so we can use it here. Well, else you can, if you want to also map it in the application, you can do that. But the reason why we are using Mapstar here is when it comes to editing, we want to map one entity to another entity because we're going to be using a lot of DTOs in here. So we cannot be doing everything in the application. Some petty things, it must be done in the UI. So we also need this. Else we have to manually map ours, and we want to skip that stress. Or do you want to do that? I'm not sure. Yes, we want to skip that, isn't it? So that's the reason why we need to use that. Then we need an SQL, Microsoft, the ASP.NET Core.SQL SQL or signal r.client, because you're going to be communicating from the client and now the admin server and now the admin. So there must be a communication. And in terms of communication, wow, signal r is the best. So we need to install that. We need the core tools to perform migration. Then we need Blazor, so we can have access to our drop down. That's the that node. You can just click on it, get a drop down. Yes. And we need breadcrumb from packages. One of the packages that I created for when I started this project. So it's going to allow us to see our breadcrumb. We can actually set our own breadcrumbs and we can set our links in there. Very simple, but it's amazing. Okay, we have a data grid. You know this already. I've introduced the data grid already. Very simple table which support visualization. But for now, we're not going to use visualization. We're going to use a normal table from the Bootstrap class. Then we need file upload, an amazing package that you love it when it gets there. This package gets you the base 64 string of an image that you just select. You don't need to write any code again to encrypt it or to change to base 64. No, it is done already. That's fantastic. So you're going to love it when it gets there. Now we have a modal, which we're going to be using dynamically to show confirmation and also to pop up a form that we can type. Okay. We have validation, so you can give us access to the progressive validation system. Once you type, it does the validation. You don't need to finish typing, click on submit before validation takes place. No, as soon as you type, you know what you're doing. Then we need this. This is the most amazing package ever. That is a template. I made a template from this Bootstrap templates all around. So I made a package from that, and that is what you're going to be using. You're going to have a sidebar and we're going to have a nav bar nicely designed. And yeah, for now it's still in the development stage, but it's amazing. So you love it as well. I hope you saw it from the preview version or the overview. Then we need syncreation.blazor.chat because you saw chat in there, so definitely we're going to be using that. We need blazor.grid, and I see you saw that. We need navigations in there so we can have access to our paginations and a lot, and we need the themes. Okay, so these are the packages that we need. So pause the video and install these packages one after the another. If you don't have the package reference like this, but the one thing here is when you install Syncfusion, we must have a license key. That's a fact. If you don't have it, go to the Syncfusion site. You can just claim free license key, then you can re-sign it in here, and I'm enjoy it. Okay. I also made a video on how to claim free community license key. Check the video description. I'll put a link in there. That's fine. Now let's save this. I'm going to right click on this, go to reload project with dependencies, and fine, everything is out. So I can just build this project together to see that everything is on its way. It's important to do that. Oh, fantabulous. You have everything. Okay, first I see that. That's great. Okay, so here, this project for organization purpose, organize your work in folders. Okay, so you don't just mix them across the project. No. And if you organize your work too, it makes it more readable for you. Okay, you know where it is, the folder name, you know where they are, can group them nicely. So in here, we're going to the domain, and within the domain, I'm going to create a folder for this. And I'm going to say this is the entities folder. Now in entities folder, I'm going to create, maybe we can start working with the authentication for this. And that's the cookie authentication before we come to the next aspect, okay? And when it comes to the authentication, we do not need any model here because you're going to implement the identity manager. So we're not going to be using our own way. So these models are created already for us. So what we need to do here is to create an RBB context class. We can create an extension of the identity user. So we can add an extra properties that we need. Okay, then we can just start with our migration. Very simple one. So let's create a folder here to the application, and I'm going to name this as extensions. Now in the extensions, I'm going to create another one, and with this, I'm going to name it as identity. So in the extensions, I'm going to create one, and I name it identity. And now inside this folder, I'm going to create a class known as application user. You can see in here, I am just extending the identity user class, which is an inbuilt from the EF core or the web UI package that we installed, and in that you have this name in here. Well, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to right click on this, click on the application, then I'm going to disable this nullable. I hate this. I hate it so much. Okay, so I'll disable this, but I can decide not to disable yours. So mine is disabled. Now, once we're done with this, we need to create another one in the same application. That is where we need to create our interfaces, isn't it? So we can create a folder in here, and I name it as interface. And now with this interface, we need an identity. So maybe I can just create another folder in the interface, name it identity, and in that I'm going to create an I account, and this is going to be the identity. So that is the namespace, the interface, and I account. And we have login, we have create user async, we have get users with claim async, we have update user async, we have get activities async, and save activities. So with the update user async, I did not implement this. Okay, this method we're going to create, but I did not implement from the UI, and that's going to be the work of you. So you can actually do that. But we're going to have the definition for this, and maybe we see if we can connect it to our UI. Okay. Now, all these red lines, what do they mean? What are they here for? These are models that we need to create. They are DTOs that we need to create. So you can see from, if you've been watching my videos, service response, I have a way of handling errors and handling responses from our access, data access, and a lot. So normally I do create a class or a record to actually handle that. These are the payloads coming in, or these are the DTOs that we're going to be using. Okay, so let's create these DTOs, and the DTOs must come in the application layer. So we can create a one big giant folder, and I'll name it as DTO. So here, that's the name of the folder, DTO. Now in the DTO, we have two types of DTO, and I believe you know this already, isn't it? Request and response. So request is what's sending to the server. Response is from the server. So let's have these two. We have our request, then we have our response. So within these two folders, you must put everything that you want, and every model that I want to create should be a response or a request. Aside from that, I don't know if you're going to have anything else. Well, okay, so in our request we need maybe identity, and now so I'm going to create identity for this from our request. So this is our request. I'm going to create a folder in the request, and the name is identity. Now inside this identity, I have 3 or 4 properties in here. I have the change user claims request DTO, and this is inheriting from the base user DTO or base claims DTO. So this is going to be the base one. I also have create user request. So this is going to allow us to create user. And in here we need a policy. So before you create user, you need policy, you need confirm password, you need the name, and you need some properties from this login user request DTO. So inheritance is very important as far as programming is concerned. Now have a look. You can see I have this login user request DTO. So if I go to login user request DTO, I have this regular expression here. I have an email, I have password. Now with this email and password, I'm going to be using it in the create account, because before you create an account, you must specify an email and password. So instead of you repeating them here, you can inherit from this. Very simple one. So inheritance allows you to inherit or use properties from another class, and that's very fine, fantastic. Okay, so you can actually do that. And we have that. So these are the packages. These are the classes or the DTOs that we need. Okay, from the regular expression, here there is a password to allow you to enter uppercase, lowercase, special characters, and numeric as well. Now from email, you must have @ symbol in it. You must have dot in it as well. In case you do not, then this is going to be their message that you're going to show. All right, now you have our policy in here. So for our policy, we have 3 policies for now, as I explained in the overview. We have an admin, we have manager, we have user, because these policies are predefined. So, but user can switch and assign user to another policy. You can do that. So maybe admin, you can change the admin to user. You can also change user to an admin. But these are the default setup policy against this system. We have our role claims in here. We have an admin, manager, and a user. So this is what you need. When configuring our policies, we're going to use maybe required role, admin, required role, manager, required role, user. So it's better that we keep it like this form. Okay, these are all static classes, so their instances are created once and for all. You don't need to be creating instance all the time that you want to use, okay, to reserve the memory, to make the system free. Okay, fine. Now that we have our identity for our request, maybe let's see if we have anything under our response which is limited to identity. So if you take a close look from the request, some of them are inheriting from this base, but this is not found. Yes, it is found in the response. Okay, so from the response, you also have the same identity in the response, and in there we have the base user claims. Now this base user claims contains the user ID, name, role name, manage user, read, delete, update, and uncreate. You can see these are all Boolean expression. They are all Boolean expression in here. These are the string properties here. Now this is what you're going to be using to update user. If you want to change user's role, if you want to update user information, defaultly from user perspective, all these are set to false. Okay, for admin, all these are set to true, except for manager, all these are set to true except delete, which is set to false, and our managers are also set to false. But for admin, they are all true. Okay, so if you want to change them, you can change them using this. So you can change. These are all claims that you're going to set. So it's much or less a claim-based authorization, but which get involved with the policy. So we're going to use the policy, roles, and our claims, okay, to manage our system dynamically. Good, and I believe you love it. Okay, so aside from that, we have get user with claims response GTO. We're going to be getting user. We want to get the user claims as you saw in the preview. So we want to get the claims of each user and display in the UI so that admin can update it. And in that, we're going to create a class in here which has only one property as a email, and which is inheriting from this base claim GTO. So if I peep this definition, we have all this, and we're going to add the email to this so we can have access to all the properties of this user. So that in case the user wants to update it, that's great. You can do it with ease. Good. Now we have this set. So we have identity from our response and our request set. So we can now go ahead and create our repo and start with it. So we cannot start here without setting up our AppDB context or setting up our connection string, because it's very, very important. So you make sure that we have it set. So we have a connection strings, and the name is default, a server is local, and here I'm going to make it YouTube demo IMS inventory management system. Change the name to yours, and that'll be all. Okay, transfer certificate to true, and then transfer connection to also true. Good. Now for organization purpose, we're going to create a data access, a folder in here from the infrastructure, and name it as data access. Well, some people name it as data, and you can also name it a name of your choice, but make sure that it suits what you're doing. Okay, so that's a data access or data. And now in that, I'm going to create AppDB as a class in there. So I click on this, you're going to add a class for this, and I name it as AppDB Contest. You can make it as DB Contest. Any name of your choice, you can give it to this. Now this class is going to inherit from identity DB Contest and DB Contest, and also we need application user. So control period, we need to include this, add reference to application. That is where this extension is found. So we can do that in here simply. Okay, they set. So after doing this, we need to register our database connection string, and I know that is a lesson which pops into your mind, isn't it? Good. So in order to do that, we're going to create a folder for this, and I name it as dependency injection. So we're going to create a service container for that. And now within that, we're going to create a class, and I'm going to name this class as service container. So just add a class to this. And now this is going to be dependency. Whoa, this is a service container, not dependency injection. I'm going to do it again. So that must be a class of service container, no more dependency injection. Okay, and now in that we need to configure some services in here, especially our DB context class. We need to also add our policies and a lot. Okay, so maybe this is what we can do. Okay, so this is what we need. Now when you check on when you take a close look here, you can see that we are returning our service collection because we're going to be using this in the identity, right? We're going to be using this in the web UI. Okay, so in here we need this iService collection. So we are explicitly referring the iService collection in here. Then we're going to be using our configuration or the config because we're going to be using an app setting.json for our connection string. In that, we're going to be using an SQL because the package that we installed, SQL Server, we get our connection string. And now we need to specify our scope lifetime, that is scope. Our scope lifetime, our scope, right? This is going to be the service lifetime, and this is going to be a scope. Okay, so to the whole application, you're going to create an instance once for the whole application. We need to register our identity manager, so we need our identity constant in here, which is coming from this ASP netcode identity, and we need to add cookie. We add our service as well for signing manager. We are not adding row authorization, so we don't need row. Row is found in the policy. Okay, so we are not explicitly adding row to this. But if you want to add row, maybe you can modify this. As I said earlier on, this system is open to modification, so you can modify it if you know what you're doing. Good. Then we're going to be adding token provider defaultly because signing manager must provide a token, and this must come from these two guys in here. Okay, that's where the magic comes in. We're going to be using our authorization builder, our policies. So here we have only 2 policies, but the rows here are 3 rows. 2 has been joined to one policy, another one is also in another policy. And that's what you can see from here. We have administration policy, which comprises of an admin or manager. Then we have a user policy, which has only the user. The reason why I made this and the both here is, before you can have access to all components which have this administration attribute or policy specified on it, you must be an admin or manager. So when this happens, admin and manager are going to have the same role. You're going to have the same power, okay? Because what admin can see, manager can also see. No, in that system, it's not going to happen. That's the reason why we are introducing the claim-based authorization. So manager, you can see add users. Admin can also see add users. If manager wants to restrict you, just set the read or manage user to false as a claim. Now, when you get to that component, on that specific feature, we check, do you have a claim manager set to true? If yes, then please go ahead and now watch this. If not, then skip it. That's what we're going to be doing. So we're going to switch off and on, okay, between the manager and the admin. Admin can see everything. Therefore, manager, you must be restricted. Else, something bad will happen in the near future. Yes, trust me, something will happen. If you give all the right to manager, you just overturn the admin and become the boss of the system. We don't want that to happen. You want to make sure that we maintain that kind of level. All right, so we have 2 policies, and that is it. Good. I hope you've done that. So let's save this. You can close this peacefully. Now we have our database connection string created. We have it registered. We have it configured, and then the next thing we can do here is we can build project and perform our database migration. And that's going to be our first migration ever. So let's do that. One burden, and I forgot one thing. We did not create our service responses. Yes, we did not create that. So quickly we can create to get this problem solved. And from our response, this is going to be a response, so we can put it in a response DTO. From the DTO, the second type as a response DTO, we can have a service response in here. Good. And for easy access, let's make this references, okay? You know, from the infrastructure is going to depend on the application, and I believe you know that, isn't it? Good. So if you haven't checked that, you can check the video from the clean architecture, and I made that clear. So it has already been referenced. Now, application also needs domain. So we can set this straight, domain. And now the boss here, infrastructure needs what? Application. We've done that already. Web UI needs application, and it needs what? Infrastructure. Why? Because of the service. We need to register service, and that's the only thing that we're going to be doing. There won't be any interaction between the service, the infrastructure, and now the UI, aside from the service. Okay, so let's dependencies, add package reference, infrastructure, application. We add them like this. Good. Now, when you go to the, where is it? When you go to the request or identity, change user, which inherits from the base, it's solved now. Which taking in, not this one, isn't it? That should be the interface. This must be solved. So we need an activity tracker for now. I'm not sure we're going to be doing this for now, so we can comment this. This will come later on. Today we want to focus on the authentication. Good. So we can just remove unnecessary ones. And now let's build this again. All right, so you can see that succeeded, 4 succeeded, and 0 failed, 0 skipped, so everything is fine. Well, the next thing they're going to do here is we're going to perform a database migration. So start doing yours. Let me also do mine. You know, we go to package manager console, but before that, you must set the web UI as a startup. So take note, set this as what? Good, startup. From here, choose the infrastructure. That is where you have a data access. Add migration. This is initial. This is the first one, okay? Whoa, I forgot this. We need to register this. You can see we are having this. It doesn't know this. So we need to do that. And from that section, we can go to the application or the web UI. And now from the web UI, we need to configure the application and the infrastructure. We need to configure them in there. So in here, for now, we haven't created any service container for the application yet. So what we have here, it is the infrastructure. And now for the infrastructure, we need to specify a parameter that is a builder.configuration. So let's put it down here. And this is coming from, we need to manage the namespace. So using application, this is an application, this is infrastructure. So the dependency injection. Okay. Now let's go ahead and perform our migration again. Okay, so let's update our database. Yes, and that is set. So you can check the database out from this section. SQL Server Object Explorer. We choose our server here as a local one. Database. Then YouTube demo, we have it. So if I open this table, you can see we have a lot of DB tables here from the identity manager. So we have all these tables, and that is what you're going to be using. Good. So now let's go to our Solution Explorer, and after creating this, what is the next thing to do? So you know that we have our interface created already. So what you do here is to create our repo. So I'm going to create a folder here, infrastructure, repository, and in that you're going to create a class account, which is going to inherit from the interface that we created, and that's going to be an account. So now with this account, want to check here. So with this interface, or this repo, not the interface, I don't want to confuse you today. Sorry for that. Now with this repo, you can see we are using user manager in here. We pass in application user. We have assigning manager as well. And aside from that, we have our AppDB context class specified in here. This we are not going to use, but we're going to be using it later on. So maybe we can keep it, or we can remove it. When the need arises, we're going to add it in there, which inherit from the interface that we created. Now for administration or for authentication, I did not use CQRS because it's just a simple one that I'm creating, and I don't need to be creating handline and that because I'm not going to extend much. I'm going to spend much time here with authentication. Okay, I create my user, I create the claims, I save it, I return it, and that is all. So you're not to be using CQRS in this. But well, if you know you have a lot of things to do in the authentication system, you can decide to use a CQRS pattern, and it's fine. But here I'm using the traditional one, the one that we know already, the fat one. Okay, so here we have this create user async, retakes in the payload of create user request ETO. Now in there we're going to check if user is not null. We're going to create a class in here which we'll be using often. So here we are implementing one of the principles, and that's a dry do not repeat yourself, because you're going to be using this often. So it's better that we put it in a private class that you can be using it. You can be calling anytime that we want. Okay. So if this is not now, you want to return service response because before you create an account, you must not have an account already. You cannot create two accounts. Our system will not permit you with the same email. So you must make sure you have a different one. Okay. If it doesn't have any existence of one and already email used, then we're going to create an instance of the application user, and in here we check, we're going to create a user, so we specify the user and now the password. Then the results here we're going to return. In case it is false, we want to return the response. Now why? Because here we have a simple class that we create, and this class checking the response of this create user. So check response, it is down in here. Now for check response is checking if it succeeds, it's going to return true. In case it isn't, you're going to return, you're going to select the error in there and I return it in the form of a service response. So when it comes to the create, it is going to return service response. As you can see from here, the return type is service response. And here to this, we are also returning service response. So directly we can return it straight ahead to this. But in case it is not, then we want to create user claims. So as soon as you create an account, you want to create a default claims for you. And what are these claims? That's what we specified. You're going to have the row. You're going to have the claim set. Create, read, update, and delete. Is it true? Manage user. Is it true? These are the claims that we need. So if it returns true that the account has been created, then the next thing here is to create your user claims. Okay, so we call this method. Now there's a method down here, and now we're also checking the policies. So in case the policy that the user selected, is it an admin, is it user, or is manager? So in case there's no policy attached to this, we want to return it on top there, line 37, you return it. In case it is, then we're going to create a list of claims in here. Then we're going to check, is it admin policy? If yes, it tells us that this person is an admin. Then please do create an account and set all these claims to that person. Set create everything to true, and that is it. Else if it is a manager policy, do the same. If it is user policy, the same. But here, no, we're setting this manager user to false and our delete is false. The same thing applies to the user policy. Everything is false except the row and the email. Yes. Okay. Aside from that, add the claim that we created, add to the user. So before that, we have to specify the user. So we find user by email. Now the results in here, definitely this will not return now. That's why I'm not checking now in here. Okay. Because the user has been created recently, and when you find it, it's going to be there. So, and we pass on the claim that we created. Return true if everything works. If not, return the results as an issue, because we're also checking for a response, which will return the error description in case something happens. Good. Now for login, we do the same. We find the user by email, and here we verify password and we sign in. In case it works, we're going to sign in there. So sign in with password. We're going to return the claims of the user, and we pass in the user and the password. And here is logout is false, and remember me also false. You want to keep the person for a long time. Short, it's fine for me. Okay, now here, if it returns false, you want to return this, but in case it returns true, then please do return true. You don't want to return any message because here you logged in and the app is going to refresh, so nothing to be shown again. Find user method, a private method that you created, and this is find user by ID. You're going to be find user by ID. So here we want to find user by ID. So these two, we have email and an ID. So for now, we are not using ID. Maybe later on, we're going to be using later on. But for now, there's no ID using here. We have only the email. Good. Then you have a check response class defined already. And here I want to check this get users with claim async. You want to get all users and their respective claims. So you create a list, then we get all users. We're going to loop through all users, and I'm going to find user by ID. That's why we are using this. Find user by ID. When you get it, get the user's claim, and I'll create a list. Populate it and I return. So user ID equal to this, email, role, name, manager, create. Is it true or false? So here it is going to be string, true, false, true, false. So you're going to convert into Boolean, and that's how you're using this. Convert to Boolean. We specify the claim in here as main user, create user, update, delete, and read. And that is all. It's very simple. Good. Return the list. And now here we're going to set up. So this is the default one as I said earlier on. We can be using database seeding to seed admin details as soon as the app starts. Well, I also create an endpoint that you can be called as soon as the app starts. So it is the same. Right. If you want to, you can choose one, database seeding or manual seeding. Yes. Okay. Now that is it. So we create user response. We specify the policy as an admin policy, and this is the credential for default one. Then we call create user. Okay. So we pass in all this. Now that's an update user. For update user, I did not implement an endpoint for this. Maybe you can have an UI. I created an endpoint. I have everything set, but there's no UI attached to. And that would be your assignment if you want to actually add that. So therefore, you're going to update it in here for all the claims, update from the current one that is coming in, and that is the same thing. Okay. So get claims from the user. Then inside that, you want to specify the create, update, read, manager, and delete. Maybe you want to. I think this is, yeah, we're using this. That's fine. Yeah, we're using it. Because user manager can update user details. Okay. And this method is going to be called. Yes. So sure. We're using that. And we want to, so once you have a new claim, we want to remove the old one and I'll check the response. If it's true, assign the new one. Okay. So you say remove claims, then add new claims. Good. Then return user updated. Fantastic. And that is it. Very simple one. The reason why I commented this here is, from the UI, admin wants to manage all activities happening or being performed by the client or the manager, I said whoever it is. So here you want to keep track. If you add a new product, you want to get it notified. You want to keep it. But for now, you're going to work on it after the authentication. Okay, that's the second layer. So the first layer here, the base one is authentication, and that is what we are focused on, isn't it? Good. Great. So now we have this. We have this set. We're going to create DI, dependency injection, in this. So let's go to our service container. And in our service container, we can specify service.ascope, iAccount, and the account. So service container, iAccount, and account. You can specify it down here. So that's the interface, and that is so using application, the identity, the account, yes, using this one. So now that we are done with this, we need to create service in the application, so we can be using this interface in there. So right click on this, we can create a folder known as service. And now in that service, we can have our interface and we can have our implementation as well. So in that service, we can have this. Maybe I can put in identity or like that. Okay. So we have an account, iService, iAccount service. And at this account service, let's comment this. We're going to be using this later on. We have login, create user account, get user with claim async, setup async, and update user async. Okay, so this is the same thing that we did in the interface. We also create same in here. Now for this account definition, we need to create a repo for this. This is not a repo, implementation for this. Okay, so in the account service, we are. So let me just comment this in here. Good. We'll come back to this later on, don't worry. Now I'm going to remove unnecessary ones. So we are inheriting from this, and now we inject the interface, create account, passing the payload, and the same thing in here. From login to, we're also doing same. Setup, we're also doing the same thing. Update, we're also doing the same update. Okay. So once you have this, you can decide to skip this and implement this straight ahead in the UI, but the best practice here is to use this. Okay, create a service for that, so that if anything happens, you know where to locate it. Now, aside from doing this, we can have to create dependency injection. So let's also create the same service container for this application. So we're going to also create the same thing in here. So let me just add a folder to this and name it the same name that we did. And in here, we need a service container. So with this service container, we need only this. Our account service, we create a DI in here. Okay. And now when you go to the web UI, we can then go ahead and now use this service in there. So blazor.services.add application service. So we can do that simply in the program.cs file in the web UI. So down here, we add that as well. And still using application.dependency injection. Good. So let's add this to the service container from the infrastructure. Since we're going to be using that, we have it in here, we can be using the cascading Auth states, because now we can register the service down there and now straight ahead. We are good to go. Okay. So now we are done with the authentication system for the application layer. We are done from the infrastructure layer. Now, which one left? I know you're saying it is a web UI, and that's good. So let's also handle that, and that's where we're going to create our UI. Okay, so our login and registration and a lot and etc. So we need to create that in the web UI. So let's go in there and do that. I can just minimize all this and open the web UI, as you can see here. So in our UI, maybe we can go to first component layout, and on this layout, maybe we can add a folder and I'll name it as identity, so that you know that this is related to identity stuff. We need to create our authentication layout. So that is the front face. As soon as you line the app, you must have login, and at the background is white. We have nothing to display except the login form. Okay, so we have authentication layout down here, created beautifully. Very simple one, the bootstrap class, container fluid. We have a deflex in the middle, and that's what we have in here. Very simple one. Okay, good. Now, once you're done with this, we are going to create our identity validating Auth state provider, and this is going to be the sign out. Let's say the sign out manager. It's going to sign out the user. Okay, so in here we have our. We're going to check from here. We're going to check. We're going to have a time span here to check to validate the user. As soon as the connection is still open. So with this is a default one from the. When you use the default one, the default settings, individual account, this is default one. I just made a copy from that and I'll paste it in here. So you can just go in there and now check that. Okay, so we just have to create a service, register the service, which we create a time to validate to check if the user is still in existence. We check if validate the user at some times, then that we are that's petty stuff that we're doing in here. Okay, so that is this one. And aside from creating this user, creating this identity validating Auth state provider, which is going to check the user if the user exists, the user authenticated, is going to validate the user a couple of times frequently, we have to also create our endpoint. And this endpoint must be a sign out. So if the user wants to sign out, we need to create an endpoint for that. So sign out endpoint. And within the sign out endpoint, we are returning this our endpoint convention builder. It is also from the default one, so you can just go in there and now take a look. And here we are just returning account/login. Just that I made a slight modification to this. Okay, so it's the same. Account/login, that's the component. As soon as I click on logout, and now in here you can see we have this sign-in manager. Now we are signing out. This is going to clear the cookie from the cookie. Oh, this is going to clear the token from the cookie storage. Yes. To clear the token or the cookie token from the cookie storage. Yes, that's fine. Yeah, okay. And at the endpoint is account/logout. And we can have redirect to login. So we can be using this in the route component to specify if the user wants to access a protected component whereby that specific user is not authenticated, then redirect to the login. Please go and log in because you're not allowed to do that unless you are logged in. So we can create that component in there. So once you're done with this, we need to register this sign out endpoint. So we can do that down here. So app.map sign out endpoint. Okay. And also we need to register the identity overriding Auth state provider that we created. So we can also register that down here. So builder.scope.ascope authentication state provider, then specify the name of the class that we created. That is this one, okay, which is responsible for validating the user within the time span specified in here, 20 seconds. Okay, so you can increase this to 30 seconds, the time that you want, but I think when you have like this in seconds, it's fine. Good. So now let's go in there and create a login and a register components. Okay, so we go to the pages, right click on that, and we're going to add a new folder for this, and we say this is identity. Maybe we can remove all these counters because we don't need the home page. We don't need this weather forecast. Yes. So inside this identity, maybe we can specify our import file in identity. So you have an import file which having this allow anonymous, which is using this iAccount service as well. So we need to include that. For now, we can comment this. Okay. So we have allow anonymous and we have this account service injected. Now we can create a component, and this component is known as access denied. That is, if you are not authorized, let's say you are authorized and you want to access a component whereby you do not have a claim set to that component, although you're authorized, this is going to be 403, right? Forbidden. So this, we want to have a representation of this, and we want to name it as access denied. Now this access denied, we have sorry, you do not have access, although you are logged in, but you do not have access. Okay. For now, we have this 3-session template, and this is coming from the template. We are not using it for now. So maybe when the time comes, we're going to we are going to uncomment this. So let's comment this for now. And aside from that, we're going to have our authentication page. So this is going to be the home page. As soon as the user or as soon as the person launches the app, this is the home page, authentication page. Now in here, we are using this authentication state. Now it's coming from this. So we can move it and I'll paste it into the import. Okay. So we have this auth state, and we want to check, is the person is authenticated? If yes, navigate to the home page. If no, then please go to the login. So in this import, we can inject. So navigation manager, then we say this is nav manager. So this is going to redirect the user back and forth. Okay, so we have them in here. So this is going to be a home page, as you can see from the route, the home page. So anytime that you launch the app, there's a landing page. Yes, and this landing page is going to check you if you are there. The person who can access this, then do that. If not, then they're going to redirect you to the right place. Now you see from here, from the authentication page, as you launch the app, you're going to call the setup async, which is going to set up the admin. Now, when you go in there and I'll check the admin has been created already, it's going to skip that. Okay, so it will create this once and for all. It's like the database seeding. It creates it once and for all. Good. Then let's have our login page. So this is a login component that we have created. And now let's check this. This we are using static rendering because of the form submission. And so we are not, this page is not interactive. It is there only for form submission. So we cannot validate the user while the user types because it is not interactive. Okay. We cannot have any button and click event attached to this. Only thing that we can do here is submit form, and that is it. And this is possible because of what? This method push that we have specified. So to improve this, we can also add another attribute, and that is an enhance to improve this. Then we have our input test for email and password. We have a button type as submit, and in that we have this login user request DTO, and this is coming from application.identity. So we can grab this, go to the import, we can paste this here, and the route is account/login. Now when you come here, we have a validation summary to display any results, and we have, in case we have any error for this, we want to display it down here. Okay, now this is happening where you see we have an error message. And now the thing is, login async, we don't want the user to be clicking it more than one because this page is not interactive. So you must have a mechanism to protect the user from clicking it often. So you can see here, initially we have a property known as is busy, and it's set to false. As soon as we click on this, we set if is busy is true, then return. Defaultly it is false, so it's going to skip this. Error message is null. And we're going to set is busy to true, so it's going to run this. So whilst on the run, unless it finishes running before it can set this to false. So whilst on the run, if we click on it again, when it gets to this property will be true and we're going to return. So it won't execute this. So we put in a stop, and that is a simple one. Put a stop, and that is it. And we are checking in case it is true, then in case the response is true, then we want to navigate to login, we want to refresh it. But in case it is not, you want to return. We don't want to return to login once your account is, or you have incorrect credentials. Yes. And we display the message from the response in here. So that's why we have this error message called to the response message. Because this endpoint is going to come in with what? With a response. And now that response, we cannot display that response in this validation summary. So we can have to create a property down here. And now you want to toggle between the validation summary and that response. You want to display both at the time, because by the time this is displayed, because this must already pass, because this happens as soon as you click on the button. Check if you are validated or not, or if you are valid. You have provided values to other needed properties. In case it isn't, then we want to display this. And that time this will be off because there's no service call. As soon as service call, it means that this has finished its work, and then we want to display this. That is the reason why I'm using if else to switch and display one at a time. Good. All right, then we have this client service to check in case you were not authenticated, then you want to return. Okay, but this, I'm not sure this is needful. Yeah, this is needful too, because maybe you're authenticated and you want to access this page again. You want to re-log in. You are logged in already, you want to re-log in. No, we don't want to do. We want to prevent it. So that's why we are saying that if you're authenticated already, then go to home. Don't come here again. We don't need you to access this component. Good. So maybe we can go in there and create a simple component in here, and we can name it as maybe content. So in the pages, let's create another one, and there's going to be content. Now this content, let's create a component. I shouldn't have deleted the first one. And now let me make it at home. And now this home, the route is going to be app/home. That's my route. So you can also specify your own route. Okay. And maybe we can have h1. Welcome home. Good. Done here. Okay. So that's what we're going to do. Now we're going to run this app and check it out. So let's build this project first. While this is building, we have something to do. Yes, I just remembered. Now, when you go to the route.razor, we need to add this authorized route view. So down here, route.razor. So instead of this route view, we want to make this as authorized. Okay. Now this authorized is coming from authorization. So we can group everything. Let's move this. And maybe we can put this here. Now we go back and it sets. And here we can use redirect to login as soon as redirect to login. So if you're not authorized and you want to access unauthorized content, please go back. Go and do the right thing. Good. Okay, so aside from this, what else can we do again? Well, let's check it out. So is it built? One field. Why? Let's find out and see. We're seeing something here. Nav manager does not exist. Why? Are you sure? Nav manager, redirect to login, and it's coming from this. So we made it limited to identity. Nav manager is down here. Maybe from the main one too, we can put it down here. Nothing. Everything. Ruby solution. Everything should be. Yes. Let's wait and see. Oh, great. So yes, I see that. Now let's give a try to this. That's our first start running. Let's see what's going to happen. All right, so the app is launched. Let me put it down here. We have an error here. Can you tell the reason why we have this? Can you see it well? Microsoft.ASP.NET.Code.Component.Authorization.Right view does not have matching name, matching the name chat component, chat content. Yes. The error is coming from here. Yes, that's right. So you can see from here, this should be not authorized, and that is where this guy must be, like this. I believe he did that. Did not follow me. All right. Okay, so let's rerun it. Oh, okay. So we are in there. Log in. So you have email and password. So let's decide. Now, defaultly, as soon as you run this, default account admin is created. We can try something like user@user.com, user@123. If I click on execute this, let's see, user not found. Yes, it's not found because this user is not registered. Let's check from the our database and see. So ASP.NET users, and you're going to see that a default admin account has been created as soon as you run the app for the first time. Let's wait and see. Oh, that's fine. That's great. You can see we have it in here. Admin, and that is it. There's a password encrypted nicely. So let's go in there and now log in. With this, if I try to click on app/home, see what happens. Okay, so I'm welcome home. Although I'm not logged in, but I'm able to access this content. Why? Because when you go to this content, we did not protect unauthorized access. So maybe this is what you can do at attribute. For now, we can have this, and you must be authorized before you can have access to this. Attribute, authorize. Okay, now we have this. You can just move this to the import, because this is coming from the identity from login, and you have this import down here, so we can attach this down here. Okay, now let's see from home, authorize this. Okay, this is coming from the content home, so not here. So this should be imports. Okay, this should be here, and home. Yes. So now if I try to rerun this, so now we are back again. Now let's try. So app/home, and you can see account/login. We are still here. We cannot log in. So now let's use an admin at admin.com. And now the password here is an admin at 123. Click on, or if you don't even provide this, tells you yes, password for this required. So this is also working. Now admin at 123, click on, and that is it. Click on login. Now let's check it out. Yes, so welcome home. We are back home. Right click on this, go to inspect, and I'll check the cookie and see if we have any token set in there. So application, go to cookie storage down here. Yes, and that is it. That's identity. ASP.NET Code identity, the application. We have a cookie storage down here, and it's set. Good. Now let's work on the logouts, and that will be all for this video. So how do I sign out the user? We have the endpoint map already. So everything that we need to do here is to create a form which submit to this endpoint that you created, and boom, that is all. So let's quickly do that. For now, let's implement it down here. Okay. So let's go to the nav manager. So layouts, then we have a nav manager, and maybe down here we can have copy of this, then we can put this in there. So form action is account/logout. That is the endpoint that we created, and that is all. So logouts, very simple one, and it's going to log the user out. Let's try this and bring this video to an end. We spent about 15 minutes getting to 1 hour. Let's wait for a while so we can continue the next time. Okay, so let's click on, let's run this again. So we are in login. We have logout down button here. Click on this, inspect, and we're going to the application. Let's check the cookies over here, logout, see what happened. It's off. So we are done. So that is it for this video. We've seen how to authenticate the system, login, logout, assigning claims. One thing I did not show you, let's go to the system before we close this. Go to ASP.NET users, ASP.NET row claim. No, not that one. ASP.NET users claim, this one. Click on view data. Now admin claims has been set defaultly, so check it out. You can see claim type, create, update, delete, read, manage user, all set it through. These are all strings. So when converting them, we use convert.boolean as you saw in there. That is it. Thank you so much for watching this, and catch you up the next video. Till then, take care.